Yes, what's good, people? Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for me. I know I've been a little MIA the last couple of weeks, but life's been lifing, man. So I had to handle some business, but it's good to see you guys again. So I wanted to touch on Moses Itauma versus Filip Hrgovic. I know I'm mad late. This video will probably get horrible views, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on the fight. I didn't prepare any notes here, so this is straight off the dome. I think this is an excellent fight for young Moses Itauma. I think he's only 21, which is crazy to think about. Dude looks like he's 5 years older than me. Like, he looks like a fully grown man. He's obviously a precocious talent. There's not a lot to criticize when it comes to his boxing ability, his ring IQ, his technique. Outside of, I think he expends way too much energy with his feints, doing this. Maybe that's a bit of immaturity on his part, a bit of nervous energy. But that's really nitpicking, because from the eye test, I think Moses Itauma could beat anyone. And by anyone, I mean anyone, including Alexander Usyk, who's obviously looked very vulnerable recently, not only with his most recent performance against Rico Verhoeven, the Dutchman, but also with the moves he's been making lately, right? He dropped the belts, he vacated all the belts, he blatantly ducked Ajit Caballero. He's avoided tough challenges like Moses Itauma, and he signaled that he just wants to cherry pick. Now, I don't have a problem with that. My only issue with Usyk from the get-go was that he was holding up the division and not allowing other fighters to progress in their careers. But it is what it is now. But yeah, I think Moses Itauma could be anyone. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he beat Usyk. I wouldn't be surprised if he beat Fury. I wouldn't be surprised if he beat AJ. And especially you look at guys who are being elevated to champion, right? Murat Gassiev, the Russian, is now the WBA champion. Ajit Caballero, the German of Kurdish descent, is now the WBC champion. Off the eye test, I would favor Moses Itauma to beat both of them. But the question remains, what happens when Moses Itauma's heart is tested? And that's something we haven't seen. Like, people keep saying we want to see his chin get tested. And yeah, I mean, we want to see if he can take a shot. I don't think he is Amir Khan, right? People have referenced his older brother, Karol Itauma, who I think he lost to an Argentine 3-4 years ago. He got knocked out. I think it was on the Yard Beterbiev undercard, if I'm not mistaken. And so people are trying to make some sort of correlation that maybe there's some fraternal weakness, and because Karol got knocked out, that Moses is due for a knockout. I think that's lazy. I think there's no suggestion. There's no evidence to suggest, rather, that because a brother has a weak chin, that the other brother is gonna also be chinless. So I think that is a silly notion to make. I think the more important test for Moses Itauma is what happens when he encounters adversity. What's going on in between his ears, right? You either have a chin or you don't, right? Amir Khan still won titles, right? Even though people make fun of him for not having a chin, he still won titles. Michael Moore still won titles. He was a champion and a really good fighter, right? Everybody kind of talks about Michael Moore and they reference the George Foreman fight, right? We all know the famous quote from what's the guy's name? Jim Lampley, former commentator for HBO. It happened when Michael Moore was knocked out by, I believe, a 45-year-old George Foreman. But Michael Moore was a hell of a fighter, and he was a dog. Go watch Michael Moore versus Burt Cooper. One of the most underrated heavyweight fights you'll ever see. Go watch Michael Moore versus Evander Holyfield. Michael Moore was a dog. He had that dog in him. Yeah, he got knocked out by David Tua in like 5 seconds. Or maybe that was John Ruiz. David Tua had some quick knockouts, right? He could punch. But Michael Moore was a dog. He had that dog in him. Like, there's just some things that you can't control when it comes to your physiology, right? There's some things you can't control. But up here, you can control that. And Michael Moore had that dog in him. So that's what I want to see, right? If he gets clipped and goes down, he gets clipped and goes down. It's heavyweight boxing. That's not that big of a deal to me. But what will be a big deal to me is the kind of character he shows, right? When he's under duress, when he's under fire, when things aren't going his way. Right now, young Moses Itauma has had everything his way. And that's a testament to him, as a credit to his talent. He's gifted, he's skilled, he's the full package. He's everything you want from a heavyweight. But I want to see what happens when he's under duress. And I think Hrgovic is right to question that. And I think the people who are picking Hrgovic are not just Moses Itauma haters, right? I like Moses. He has this unique aura. I'm a millennial. He's a Gen Z. Gen Z, they kind of have this melancholy, super nonchalant kind of vibe to them. Like, oh, dude, yeah, I don't care, bro. Whatever, bro. And that's Gen Z. And so Moses kind of fits the new wave of what's going to appeal to young people who have grown up with phones and tablets and don't know how to string a coherent sentence together. He's going to appeal to them. That's just the reality. I sound like an old man, but I'm Uncle Cam now. As you can see, I got gray hair. I'm an old man. So I don't think people are wrong, though, getting back to the point, in favoring Hrgovic, because Hrgovic is battle tested, right? Again, like I said, Moses Itauma, off the eye test, it's hard to pick against him. It's hard to favor any heavyweight against him, including Usyk. But who has he fought? We got to keep that in mind. His best wins are Mike Balogun, ex-football player, right? When we see all these NFL dudes and rugby dudes, they come into boxing and MMA, and they're already chinless because they're coming into the sport with a significant amount of CTE, right? Like, boxing and MMA and kickboxing are the most dangerous sports in the world, without a doubt. But playing pro football, American football, that is, and rugby, those are tough sports. You can't be a PUSSY. I'm trying not to get demonetized, or and I don't want to anger my mother. So, but you can't be soft playing NFL, gridiron, rugby, right? You can't be soft playing those sports. But there's nothing like boxing. There's nothing like getting clocked in the jaw by someone the same size as you. It's a totally different sport. But like, you see these guys, they come over here into boxing and they have no chins. and they can't take a shot. So how good is Mike Ballaghan? I had never even heard of the guy before he fought Moses Itauma. After that, it's the cadaver of Dillian White. Like, Dillian White was a total shell of himself, completely useless, right? In retrospect, it probably would have been better for Dillian to just keep fighting bums, to keep cherry picking bums and waiting for a massive payday, waiting maybe for the AJ fight to come around. Let's just stay in shape. Let's keep taking these fights. Let's do a bum of the month tour and just wait for a massive payday. He probably would have got more money to fight AJ in a warm-up. You know, maybe instead of Prenga, AJ fights Dillian as the warm-up, and Dillian can command $5 million because they pack out the O2 in London or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, Moses Itauma, he starts Dillian White, who was totally washed up, totally useless, had already been ran through by Povetkin, AJ, and Fury. So he wasn't the same guy. And then Jermaine Franklin, his entire reputation has been built on 2 losses, again, to a washed up Dillian White who had already been ran through, and an AJ who was in the ring not trying to be dangerous. In the Dillian White fight, he, in my opinion, lost that fight 7-5. Was it competitive? Yes. Did Jermaine do better than people expected? Yes. But in my opinion, he still clearly lost that fight. He still clearly lost that fight. And in the Joshua fight, he lost every round. You could maybe, if you were generous, you could maybe find 1 round. And that, again, that was an AJ who was coming off the Usyk loss, who wasn't confident, who never got out of first gear, and was just touching Jermaine the entire fight and won every round. These are facts, bro. So Jermaine Franklin is a top 30, top 35 type of fighter, right? But because he's a likable guy, affable guy, and of course everyone hates AJ, people gave him more credit than he deserved. But he's not a world level fighter. So the reality is, Moses Itauma, as gifted as I think he is, I think he's gifted. I think he is the future. So I want to be clear, I'm not a Moses Itauma hater. I think the man is the future. I think he will be champion, especially when you have guys like Gassiev, who is totally limited, who went life and death with a 6,000-year-old Kubrat Pulev. When you have guys like that who are champion, of course I think Moses can be champion, but I think there's something to be said about his resume. It's very weak. It's not weak because he is a prospect and he is only 21, right? He's not Ben Whitaker, who's a 30-year-old prospect. I didn't realize that Ben Whitaker and I were that close in age. Again, if you can't see, I'm Uncle Cam. My nieces call me Uncle Cam Cam. I got all this gray hair. I'm an old man. I'm old and washed up, you know? So I didn't realize that we were that close in age. But yeah, Moses Itauma is not Ben Whitaker. Ben Whitaker needs to get a move on. Like, I'm not interested in any of his fights unless he's fighting at least a Zach Chelly. I'll take that. Zach Chelly's coming off a good win against David Morrell, who is, I would say, world level, fringe world level fighter, right? And Zach Chelly knocked David Morrell out cold. So if it's not Zach Chelly, people say Anthony Yard. I mean, he's been ran through. Personally, I'd like to see Ben Whitaker in with Willie Hutchinson or Joshua Buatsi. I think that'd be a great fight in the O2. That'd be a great fight, especially Buatsi. I'd love to see Ben Whitaker versus Buatsi. I think that'd be a fun fight. Ben Whitaker's more talented, but Bawasi's got that dog in him. And again, he's proven. So I've been kind of riffing, but that kind of ties back into my point. Moses Itauma is definitely more talented than Filip Hrgovic. There's no debating that. Like, you just watch Filip Hrgovic box. He's a straight up and down heavyweight. He's big, he's strong, he's tough, and he has the best chin in boxing. There's no debating that. Hrgovic is taking shots from Dubois that sent Anthony Joshua to Pluto. And I don't even think Pluto is considered a planet anymore by astrophysicists. And Hrgovic was able to get stopped on his feet. Now, again, people act like Hrgovic didn't give the ref and the doctor the puppy dog eyes, the Billy Joe Saunders eyes. Like, I really don't want to be here. Hrgovic was relieved when that fight got stopped, and I stand by that. Hrgovic was relieved. He didn't protest, and people were saying the cuts were bad. Vitaly Klitschko's cuts were worse. Tyson Fury's cuts were worse. Amanda Serrano's cuts against Katie Taylor were worse. So were they bad cuts? Yeah, they weren't the worst cuts I've seen in a boxing match. So let's stop with that. He did get the referee and the doctor the puppy dog eyes, like, guys, I don't want to be here anymore. Please save me. Facts. But Hrgovic is tested, right? He fought Dubois, and yeah, he lost. He got his ass kicked, but he did better than Anthony Joshua. I have to admit that. It's debatable if he did better than Wardley. That's up for debate. But if you want to say Hrgovic is better, I'm not going to throw a big fit over that. But I think it is debatable if he did better than Fabio Wardley. And you know, he's fought Zhile Zhang. You know what I mean? And he's tested. He fought Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is tough. He's game. I hope Joe Joyce finally gets the long overdue title shot and gets the money that he deserves. Because again, Joe Joyce is one of those guys who kind of got fucked over by the system. That's just the reality. He got fucked over by the system, and instead of getting a title shot against Fury or Usyk, he had to fight Zhile Zhang, who nobody else was interested in fighting. And unfortunately, he got stopped. You know, it is what it is. But it would just be really nice to see a guy like Joe Joyce, who seems like a real one, one of the few kind of genuine guys in the sport, who does it for the love of the game. It'd just be nice to see him get a belt, get a payday, and be able to sail off into the sunset with something. Just given that he's sacrificed his body for you and I's entertainment. So that'd be great to see. But when you compare their CVs, to me, there's no debate. Like, Hrgovic is battle tested. Moses Itauma is not. And again, I have very limited boxing experience, but I have boxed before as an amateur. And I can tell you, when you're in there with a guy who is levels below you, and you can tell immediately, right? It's if you ever read Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, and how people who have a lot of experience in a certain area, or it might not have been Outliers or Blink. I think that was actually the book, not Outliers, but Blink. And how people with a lot of experience in a certain area can immediately tell when they're dealing with an imposter or a counterfeit. When you've been boxing for a while, you can immediately tell when someone is levels below you. You're gonna become more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, you're gonna have more energy. You're gonna retain your stamina better. And you're gonna be able to process things at a speed that works for your brain. And that's important, right? Because when you become mentally fatigued, you become physically fatigued. And we haven't seen Moses Itauma become mentally fatigued. We saw him become physically fatigued against Franklin, but that's because